here. I know you like those.
I know. I'm gonna look here. Ready whenever you are.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually covered a couple things already. But looking over your website, I saw that you opened in Halloween of 2017.
Yep.
And I was wondering what inspired you not only to do a shop based in horror, but also specifically your focus on the obscure cult horror.
It's just something that I've always loved, always been interested in. I've collected movies and music and comics and art my whole life. Got a pretty big DVD collection, Blu-ray collection when I first started, and then I was lucky to stumble across the Village Video. It was a video store here in town, and they were closing as I was opening, so I worked a deal with him to get access to about 40,000 films. And then I'm trying to work the rest of them through here. But back to your question about, you know, what sparked me to do this is just reached the end of my career as a chef, and I was always talking to people about music and movies, and nobody knew what I was talking about. Nobody had heard any of the films that I was talking about. So that's I used to love the old video store experience, going into the video store as a kid, searching through the movies and bringing the stack up and sitting for 3 days and watching movies. So I just kind of wanted to preserve that. I know that it's kind of dying out across the country due to the streaming stuff, but you know, I've got thousands of films out there you can't find streaming anywhere. So.
And that's what's really nice too, that I noticed as soon as I walked in, was the old school feel, which I think especially people who like horror really could get into.
Yep.
I mean, just from the outside, I think that was probably the biggest attraction. So
I think a lot of people get scared when they see the outside. You know, they see the Gorehounds name and the Frankenstein on the door. And, but I'm trying to expand a little bit more out from just the focusing on the horror and cult classics. So recently I've been adding more comedies and action, you know, kids films.
okay, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of have some diversity going on too. That's great. Do you guys do anything special around Halloween at this time of year?
Yeah, we did a costume contest, potluck, last year.
Okay.
It was pretty fun. We had 10 or 12 people in there.
Okay.
So we just hung out and had a party that night. I think as we grow and get more people, more loyal people following us, we'll probably plan bigger and bigger events.
Lots of room for expansion, it sounds like too. That's great. So, what can you tell me about the artists and stuff and the art here?
Yeah.
You were telling me that a lot of it is local artists and stuff that you promote.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, I kind of dabble myself, so I do pen and ink drawings. I was working on a graphic novel, and just decided, you know, when I opened this, that I would love to have a spot in the store dedicated to artists that are trying to make a name for themselves and want to get their stuff out for sale to the public. I just do a small percentage of the sales as a commission, just looking to get them some exposure, not really looking to take advantage of them so much. So.
That's great. So do you feel, in relation to your art, people who, because looking at it, obviously, everybody who submits their art here, it is horror related.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of the artists felt that this has been a very good place for them to show off their art? Because I know that a lot of people are usually have an aversion to horror art and stuff. Because I know that, you know, myself, it being in the arts and stuff, that usually people tend to look down on it before any other genre.
Yeah.
So has it been a good outlet for your artists?
It has been. I've heard several of them say that they've had stuff hanging in stores throughout the town, and it basically sits on the wall and doesn't really sell. So it's good to have a niche-based outlet for them to, you know, sell something that specifically targets their demographic. You know.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that you know, especially in terms, like I've said with horror, having a niche outlet is, I mean, I would feel is probably paramount, at least with horror, especially horror artists, anybody wanting to depict death or anything like that in art. So I think that that's very well appreciated that you offer that in your shop. You mentioned that your clientele is a lot of devoted people. Is it mainly people who are regulars, or do you get your sparse every so person that comes in just to kind of look around?
Yeah. The regulars, the group of regulars is growing every month. That's for sure. Once they come in and see, start looking through I have like 6,000 films out there for rent, so it's a little overwhelming. Some people come back in with lists and they go through and say, I haven't seen this, this, and this, and then they open a rental account with me and check them out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know we were hooked as soon as we came in, because we walked in and I was like, this is my kind of shop, so that's why I knew that this was going to had to be our first post.
Awesome.
But so can you elaborate for me on some of the services you have? Can you go over that again for me?
Sure. Well, like I said, we do rentals. We have a couple different rental deals going throughout the week, and then I have a Rent 9, Get 1 Free program installed, and for the people that really like to watch a lot of movies, I do a 30-day unlimited rental for $30. So you can have 3 movies checked out at a time on that one. And, I've got several people taking advantage of that right now. I do sell merchandise up there, so I'm trying to get more diverse with that as well. So I'm trying to get some like pinup stuff in here, just different stuff that's kind of related to the cult genres. Mm-hmm. T-shirts, pop figures, patches and pins. We've expanded out our gaming section, so I have a bunch of board games for sale. Magic and comics, I have my personal collection in here for sale, both of those. So the comics, there's about 3,200 books, and there's literally probably 50,000 Magic cards. Back here's the theater, so in here we show movies Friday and Saturday nights, open to the public at 7 and 10. The movies that I show on Friday and Saturday, I hold them over and show them again on Monday and Tuesday at 8. Okay. For the people that are working on the weekends or whatever. The rest of the time it's open as an event rental space, so if you wanted to get a bunch of friends together to have a party or do whatever, I'm open, let you do whatever you want in here. All the information for all that's up on the website.
Okay. So. Yeah, I think that a lot of that can be appreciated. I know personally, and I know that everybody else struggles with it, even with your specialized viewing websites like Shudder. Mm-hmm. You can find some of the more vague ones on a website like that, but there's just so much horror and there's so many good ones that nobody can keep up,
Gotta hurry up and watch them.
Yeah, I mean, things like Netflix and Hulu, they're very mainstream, and then you go somewhere like Shudder and they have some of the more vague ones that you're looking for, but not quite. So I think that's probably very well appreciated that you do have such a large collection for people.
I do have a huge out-of-print selection as well. Probably 200 titles in the out-of-print. But that takes a certain amount of a rental relationship, mm-hmm. before I would open that library up to anybody.
Yeah, don't want to lose anything or
no, most of that stuff's pretty expensive to replace if I had to replace it.
I can imagine.
Beyond that, we're also building a community with what we're doing in here. So I mentioned the consignment art, and there's a filmmakers networking group that meets in here on the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. So there's about 20 to 25 people in the group. Seems to be growing every month as well. They get together, they talk about what projects they're working on and what they need help with and how we can help one another get some films made. There's it ranges from all levels and skills of talents, from, we have high school kids in the group to people that have actually made movies and done effects in movies, editing, writing, directing. There's a group from Cheyenne that comes down, Midnight West Productions. They're doing great things up there in Cheyenne. They're getting ready to release their first full-length feature this summer. And they're also working on a part 2 to a hilarious half-hour short called ST Demon. pretty fun.
Okay.
We have kind of teamed up with some guys at the Lyric as well, which is one of the art house cinemas here in town. They have a filmmakers group that meets there as well. So there's a couple meetings throughout the month that people can attend. Jesse's the guy that's kind of heading that up, so we're kind of teaming up to get everybody on one page and let them know that, you know, there's all these services and resources available to filmmakers here.
Well, that's great. That's
to help
awesome.
kind of create a scene and build it, you know.
Yeah, that's
where
really
it's
nice.
good.
That's a very nice outlet. When you do your screenings here at night, what goes into your decision for which movie to screen?
Licensing rights is pretty much what I'm dealing with. So I can't show mainstream movies in here
Okay.
because they just want too much money for the tickets.
Yeah.
I've only got 20 seats in here, 25 seats, so you know, if they want to charge me an astronomical amount of money to show the film, then I would have to pass that along to the customer, and I don't really want to do that. So it kind of limits me to what I can show, but there's several groups that I work with, so I've probably literally got access to about 1,000 films that I can show in here.
And you know, I would imagine at least, I would imagine that even though you have to remain within the confines of you know, those specific films and stuff that you want to show, that you probably get some pretty interesting films out of it, though. Some pretty interesting review.
I would say out of all those films that I have access to, maybe, you know, there's a couple hundred that maybe people know about.
That's great.
So that's kind of going back to the first, you know, what inspired me to do this is just turning people on to new stuff. I mean, there's so many good films out there that and people don't know about. It's got to be somebody's job to turn them on.
Yeah, I mean that's commendable because you probably met people who've seen, I don't know, The Human Centipede or Friday the 13th 100 times, but
yeah,
you know, you ask them if they've ever seen Session 9 or anything like that, and they're like,
Visitor Q. Or,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what that is. So that's great. It's great because it allows you to really expand on the genre. It allows it not to fall into a stale state of being. So I really appreciate that you
just
do that.
people know there's other stuff out there than, you know, all of the Hollywood stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that brings us to our final question. Is there anything else you would like to get the word out regarding your store, or anything regarding horror in and of itself, or anything you'd like us to make sure that you have in our blog? Sure.
We're working really hard to kind of offer a little bit more with the space that we have here. The movies are kind of hit and miss as far as attendance goes for them, so we wanted to open the space up to do more events. We're going to be planning probably one Gorehound event a month at least in here, and it's opened up to anybody else in the filmmakers group that wants to plan an event, feature themselves or some friends and family, you know. The indie filmmakers, I really want to help them out, so I give them a place to show their movies. Even if it's just short films or whatever, you know, if they want a theater to actually screen their films in, they can come here and set something up.
That's good. I'm glad that you have the community in mind as far as your future goals. I think every good business owner knows that that's really what keeps it going too. So
yeah,
I think that's really appreciated. But thank you, Jeff, for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very glad, very excited to see the film too. So.